The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, has been attributed to the unexplained disappearances of several aircrafts and ships. It is located in the southern coast of the U.S., with its vertices marked off as Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. For decades, the 440,000-mile patch in the sea has been studied by scientists and conspiracy theorists alike, which isn't really a good combination. So a lot of the facts related to the disappearance could obviously be skewed to create an aura of mystery around them. The fact is, the Bermuda Triangle is a heavily trafficked area, where hundreds of aircrafts and ships routinely pass through with no trouble whatsoever. So where do all the mysteries come from? How the mystery was established. The oldest ever accounts related to the Bermuda Triangle come from Christopher Columbus himself, where he claimed to notice three strange things. He described seeing a ball of fire crashing right into the sea. He also pointed out how all of his compasses seemed to be malfunctioning, as they weren't aligning with the North Star. And lastly, he claimed to have noticed a strange light, like a candle, emanating from the area and nearby land. But it is believed that the light was an indication of the land, the fireball a meteor. Meanwhile, the compass not aligning can easily be explained by the fact that magnetic north and true north don't align. It was much later in the 20th century that the region really started drawing suspicion and gained public attention after a series of disappearances of planes, ships, and people with no trace left behind. The term Bermuda Triangle itself was coined even later in 1964. The phrase first appeared in print in a pulp magazine in an article entitled The Deadly Bermuda Triangle. Vincent Gaddis, who used the phrase to describe a triangular region that, quote, has destroyed hundreds of ships and planes without a trace. He was also the one who marked the vertices of the triangle as we know them today. But here's one thing. Gaddis never gave an explanation for why he chose those exact points. And pulp magazines aren't really known for their top-notch and accurate stories with tons of research. So Gaddis probably made that up as the name exudes a mysterious vibe, and making the story profitable was more of a priority than making it truthful. Still, there aren't that many explanations to a lot of these mysteries. Notable disappearances and explanations. One of the most well-known disappearances, and the one that helped establish the legend surrounding this area, is the disappearance of Flight 19, which consisted of 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. When things went south, one of the pilots was heard saying, "Everything looks strange, even the ocean. It looks like we're entering white water. We're completely lost." Not long after, the control tower completely lost contact with the planes. To search and rescue them, a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat was launched. But the Mariner also disappeared without a trace soon after it was sent out. Now on the surface, this story is quite intriguing and definitely sounds mysterious. The Navy was baffled too, so much that in the official report they wrote, "It's as if they had flown to Mars." But when this incident was investigated much later, a lot of new facts were revealed and helped provide much better explanations to the mystery. The crew of Flight 19 consisted of 12 trainees, and the leader was United States Navy Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, who had over 2,500 hours of flying experience. The flight was going according to plan when suddenly Taylor had alerted the tower with the following message, "Both of my compasses are out, and I am trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am over land, but it's broken. I'm sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down, and I don't know how to get to Fort Lauderdale." In actuality, Taylor was actually flying over the Bahamas as planned, but due to this compass malfunction, he thought they were off course. To add to his confusion, he presumably flew over a group of islands north of Abaco Island that resembled the Key West Islands. The control tower advised that Taylor's crew fly west, which would have led them home and saved their lives. Taylor set off for what he thought was west, but was actually northwest, nearly parallel to Florida. At some point he decided that they had tried flying west enough and ended up changing course to northeast, thinking they were heading towards the Keys, but in reality, it was toward open ocean. The weather was getting worse, and the sun had started to set by that time, lowering visibility considerably. Around 1820, Taylor's last message was received. He was heard saying, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." And that was the last that was heard of it. Much of Taylor's confusion could be attributed to the compass malfunctioning. The most likely explanation is that the planes eventually ran out of fuel and crashed. The bodies were never found, neither was the wreckage. It had likely sunk into the ocean. And the mariner that was sent to their rescue was actually never seen again. A tanker reported seeing a plane burst into flames and then crashing into the sea. They tried to find survivors in the oil and wreckage, but to no avail. At the same time of the explosion, another ship had noticed a plane disappear from radar. So this was the fate of the mariner. As for why it exploded, turns out earlier checkups on the plane had revealed that there was some issues detected, but they were ignored. So the likely explanation is that an engine malfunction led to the plane exploding. Just looking at this incident, it is clear that the cause of the crash wasn't really a mysterious force in the ocean, but really just human error. As for why the bodies weren't found, they probably ended up floating somewhere else, and since the ocean is so vast, it wasn't that easy to search for them. Just like the case of Flight 19, other disappearances also have some very likely explanations that don't have anything to do with the supernatural and make just as much sense. Take the USS Cyclops, for example. This one was probably the greatest loss in military history, not related to war, as a crew of 309 people disappeared completely. Its mysterious disappearance was attributed to the Bermuda Triangle. In reality, reports revealed that the ship was carrying 11,000 tons of manganese ore, much over its 8,000-ton capacity. To add to that, the engine at the starboard side wasn't operational either. So the ship was overloading and running on one engine, which was less than ideal conditions. To top it off, the weather had gotten extremely bad where the ship was. All of these factors combined together make it more likely that the engine had stopped working and the ship had capsized due to the manganese ore, as it could easily have misbalanced the ship. Another notable disappearance is of the Carol A. Daring. What's strange about this one is that the ship was found in one piece aground at the Diamond Shoals, but the crew and their belongings were gone, and the steering wheel appeared to have been broken off with a sledgehammer. But there's one thing to note about this incident. Some investigation revealed that the crew weren't on good terms, with some of the crew members conspiring against the captain. Another thing was that the ship had actually made it past the triangle safely. Some people had reported seeing someone waving from the ship as well. Strangely, another steamer was noted to be following it, its name covered with a cloth. This combined with the conspiring crew leads to a more likely explanation that mutiny or piracy had occurred. Some myth debunking. There are a lot more incidents attributed to the triangle, but let's take a look at some things that experts say. Larry Kusch, author of The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, argued that many claims of Gaddis and subsequent writers were exaggerated, and he exposed several inaccuracies in the stories. He states that the concept of the triangle is a manufactured mystery, as the proportion of ships and planes reported missing in the area was not considered higher than any other part of the ocean. Some disappearances, in reality, had never occurred. A plane incident was reported to have transpired in 1937 off the coast of Daytona Beach, Florida, in front of hundreds of witnesses. However, a search of the local press turned up nothing. Some numbers are said to be skewed as well, with ships being reported missing but their eventual return being left out. And lastly, the Worldwide Fund for Nature listed the world's 10 most hazardous shipping lanes in a 2013 research, but the Bermuda Triangle was not one of them. So really, a lot of the mystery surrounding the Bermuda Triangle is nothing but exaggeration and myth created to mystify people. If anything, this patch in the ocean is just about as dangerous as the rest of the ocean is.